Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is October the 28th already. We've nearly run out of 2025. We have a big bit of breaking news for you today, and that is to do with not one, not two, but three ETFs going live today. That's the big bit of news that we're going to cover today. And that pretty much is another one of my 2025 predictions ticked off. So we're going to go through that. There's more big news than that. The biggest news of the week is, of course, the Halloween special. On your screen in front of you now is the Halloween special. It's tomorrow night. It's on Binance Square. And it's also going to be somewhere else, the little red square thing. Now, I wrote the questions yesterday. It took me about 4 hours to do these questions because, as Villain Bear quite rightly says, we need a little bit of jeopardy. So we've done that. Some of the questions are easy. Some of the questions are hard. And that, I think, is going to mean that out of the 25 questions that we're going to ask, I don't think we're going to see anybody get 25 out of 25 tomorrow. I think 23 might be the top score tomorrow. But that's tomorrow night, and that is 7 p.m. Central European time. Now, of course, the clocks went back on Sunday in the UK because we still live in Edwardian times. So the time now is a little bit different to UTC. So I think 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Central European time, I think is now 4 p.m. UTC. But we're going to put the event up probably tomorrow morning, and then you're going to see it. So make sure to follow Crypto Warehouse. Also, a massive thank you, especially to Villain Bear and Queen and Kishan and Mags and everybody else that's been voting. The Blockchain 100 competition or awards, whatever it's called, Crypto Warehouse is 13th. 13th. Now, you might think that's rubbish. Now, let me point something out to you. There's no way we're getting onto that top 10 leaderboard. And the reason is that top 10 leaderboard is full of people who operate and stream in different jurisdictions with a lot more people watching them. I think we are 4,000 or 5,000 votes behind top 2, top 3. So we haven't got a chance. But listen, if we finish in the top 25, a big thank you to you all for getting us there, because listen, that's a big achievement for us, and that's all we care about. We run our own race. We don't run anybody else's race. So as well as talking about the ETFs, what we're going to talk about, of course, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. There's a bit of news to talk about there. We're going to talk about Sol breaking $200 finally. Are we going to see that? We're going to talk about IBM moving into a digital assets platform. We're going to be talking about Hype and a slight bug that sent the price of Hype to $98. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about NAV crises and treasuries. I'm telling you, and I have been telling you for at least 2 or 3 months, this is going to be the big black swan, probably a 2026. And then we're going to finish with a Beyond Meat, a Beyond Burger lesson to you all, and something that we talk about quite a lot. And I was thinking about this today, and before we start the show, I can't play my own quiz anymore. I'm banned. You know what? I'll give you that one. I'm not going to play it tomorrow night, and the reason I'm not going to play it tomorrow night is I actually know because I've handwritten all of the questions. So I know, but we'll get onto that in a second. Now, the one thing I want to say is there's some lessons and some things I talk about a lot on here. Maybe if you're a regular and you've been watching for months and months and months, you've heard me say the same thing over and over again. And that's because when it comes down to crypto, when it comes down to portfolios, when it comes down to what you should be putting your money in, there's not that many rules, okay? And they're not my rules, they're market rules. Risk management is probably the most important thing. Understanding not to FOMO into things at the top. Buying the top and selling the bottom, we covered that yesterday. These types of things are the same, and this repetitive nature of mine to try and force this down your neck is for you to remember them. There are other things as well. Don't tell people that you've got crypto. Don't tell people how much crypto you've got. These are the same things we talk about over and over and over again, and it's because they're important. And it's like, I probably would not talk about some of these things over and over again if I didn't think it was super important that you took these lessons home. And the one that we're going to talk about at the end of the show, which is the Beyond Help article, that's really the one that I want to focus on today. Now, one quick thing as well before we get into the show. For those of you on Binance Square, as Villain Bear said, put your user ID in chat. And what I will be doing is collating all of the user IDs, and I will be putting them into a prize draw for a giveaway, probably Sunday like I've just done. So last Sunday's, it was 600 meg. It was just over the limit to upload on Binance Square, but we have got 5 winners. I tried to tag you as much as possible, but I couldn't quite get it up on Sunday, so I put it up yesterday. But you've won, and I'm going to be sending you the funds this week. Okay, so I know Queen has won. AK, I think, won. Didn't AK win or something like that? So all the winners, you're going to be sent your crypto on Binance to your ID this week. Now, we've got a busy week. Today, I'm editing an In the Trenches interview that Brogan did last night with a chap called Danny from a project called WAM. It's on the Binance Smart Chain. It's on a few other chains. I think it's on Solana as well. It's going to be going on to Kronos. That's an hour and 15-minute interview. That is not an easy task. Yesterday, I spent 4 or 5 hours getting the questions together for the quiz on Wednesday night. So you are going to get paid. There is a video on Binance Square showing you who has won. You are going to get the crypto, but it might not be today. It might be tomorrow, it might be Thursday, it might be Friday, but you're going to get your crypto. The same as if you win your prize on Wednesday, you will get your crypto before the end of Sunday. We have a very, very tight schedule. We have a lot of work that has to go on in the background. You do get paid. That's the most important thing. Now, as you can see, the title of the show today is ETF Excitement, and that is what this is. We're going to focus on this today because this is the important thing. What are the 3 things we talk about when we talk about crypto? We talk about giving crypto air. Adoption, interoperability, and regulation. Air. Adoption comes through these ETFs. Not everyone out there is going to jump onto Binance and buy Litecoin, Hedera, and Solana. Not everybody out there is going to jump onto Binance and buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. Some people, especially the older generation, are going to need funds. They're going to need ETFs. They're going to need structured products or financial products that their investment advisor or their banks will give them, and that's how they will buy crypto. So when we see these things happen, this is good for adoption, and adoption is what we want. It's not going to pump all of your bags 20x in the next 3 weeks, but this is all about adoption. Adoption takes time. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Also, as well as that, we need to have a quick chat about Zcash. As I said yesterday, it's going to start coming down. Don't chase tornadoes, as I said. Now, Bitcoin is coming in at $114,500. Ethereum is still above $4,100. XRP is having a good run. Now, I put up a little funny clip yesterday of exploding volcanoes, and that's because the XRP, the full XRP ETF hasn't really gone live yet, whereas Solana's has, Litecoin has, and Hedera has, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. So XRP is up at $266. Solana is back over $200, which is great to see. Other decent or noticeable highlights here. Hype is at 47. That's creeping up. That's probably going to get back to $50 as long as Bitcoin doesn't wet the bed. Cardano hasn't really changed. I think the Cardano ETF is going to be on the horizon, maybe next week, maybe the week after. Maybe we'll see that with the XRP ETF. Gainers and losers then. The winners, or the big winner of the day, is Hedera. That ETF is going live today. We'll talk about that. Trump is up as well. Don't buy Trump, don't buy Melania. Pump.fun is up. That's one of my picks. I remember a few weeks ago, I picked, I think, was it 4 coins I said I'm going to put a tiny, tiny fraction of money into, because you don't really need to pack your bags after September. That's when you need to be cut and dried. And I think they were Pump, Aster, Plasma, and World Limited Financial. Not expecting any of those coins to 100x. Now, I'm buying them for the potential that they will have in November. Because, and I'm going to bring up a tweet about this in a minute, the 2025 coins are going to outperform the 2020-2021 coins simply because fresh eyes, fresh market price action, all of those things, they come with new coins because they're shiny new toys. Next year, we're going to have more shiny toys and those toys might get put to one side. That's just how the market works, unfortunately. Others up. Litecoin is up back over $100. Algo, again, there's an ETF on the horizon for that. Plasma is there. That's way down. I think I was getting into Plasma at about 50 cents. So I'm not up on Plasma. I'm not up on probably most of these coins, although I haven't checked that much. But a good few gainers. Losers. Zcash is down at 9.5%. I said yesterday that I expect that to go down below $300, maybe to $280, maybe even further. Maybe it just goes all the way back down. But remember, don't chase tornadoes. That's going to be rack and ruin. Humanity Protocol, that was up yesterday. That's got a profit take being taken on that. Dash was up in line with Zcash. That's retracing as well. It's never good to look at these coins when it actually loads. It's never good to look at these coins and simply buy the top 5 coins there, thinking they're going to keep going up. Because what is green today is very likely going to be red tomorrow, especially if it's a big gain. Because the people that have been holding the bags of Humanity Protocol or Dash or Zcash, maybe they just didn't see this pump coming. And it's happened, and guess what? They're taking some profits. Who can blame them? It's up 30% in a week. So had you bought Zcash for $210, $230 last week, it's now over $300. You're taking profits, the way it works. So don't chase greens, because greens lead to reds in a lot of the cases. Not necessarily all the cases. You do have prolonged runs. We've seen it from Ton, from Sui, from Hype. We've seen a lot of runs. Asta ran from absolutely nowhere up towards $2. So it can keep going. But all I say is just err on the side of caution and take some profits. Now, this is not anything to do with crypto. This man, he walks down the street and literally gives little old ladies bunches of flowers, because sometimes you need to give back. So if there's a little old lady that lives near you in your street or something, and maybe you don't want to get her some flowers, get her a little box of chocolates. Do something nice for old people, because they deserve it, you know. And I don't mean your grandmother or your granddad. I mean somebody in your street. Just be nice to them, smile at them, say hello, brighten up their day. Some of these people don't go out very often. I'm not turning into a charity either. I'm just saying, just be nice. I thought it was a very lovely thing to start the show with today. Moving on then, getting into crypto. And again, we're not going through this list because, as you can see, it's getting really big. I bring this up once every 2 weeks maybe to show you the expansion of the holders of Bitcoin. And this isn't the full list. This is the top 100. And for those of you that have been with me for at least the last year or so, you will know this list was 25. Then it was 30. Then it was 40. Then it was 50. And I'm going to keep showing you this because at some point, Hodl 15 Capital might start producing a second page, which is the top 250, for example. And these are the Bitcoin holders. These are not crypto treasuries which hold Ethereum or Solana or Litecoin or anything like that. These are Bitcoin holders. This is adoption of Bitcoin by these businesses in real time. And that's, you can step back and you can say, 6 months apart, we had 25, now we've got 150. That's 125 businesses holding Bitcoin that have been added in 6 months. In a year's time, that could be a 500 list. Now, this made me smile. This made me smile. And I'm going to try and say this with a straight face. The S&P Global Ratings has issued Strategy B with a B- issuer credit rating. The first ever rating for a Bitcoin treasury company by a major credit rating agency. Now, this all sounds lovely, except a B- isn't very good. And I think somebody down here mentions this. B- credit rating is considered highly speculative and falls into the non-investment grade category, often referred to as junk. Okay, so it's lovely that there's been a ratings issued on this, but it's junk. And the first thing that jumped out of me was the B-, because I don't know if you look at what the S&P and people like that do. It's kind of like A++, A+, A-, but there's a long way down to get to B. And you can get a C+, don't forget about that. But B- really isn't very good. Now, maybe we talk about adoption. Maybe this is adoption. Maybe it will start at B-, and then over the course of the next year or two, it goes from B- to B or B+. But I don't think this is going to get an A-star rating for several years yet, because Bitcoin will stay volatile probably for a good few more years yet. So, although it's great, it's like making your own amateur movie and then it getting reviewed by your local newspaper. And the local newspaper gives it a 1 out of 10. And you put out a press release saying, my movie, Monkey Zombies 2025, has just been rated in my local newspaper 1 out of 5. That's the kind of category I would put that in. Being rated as junk is not a press releasable event, in my opinion. Ever wondered why your old altcoins aren't moving? Here's your answer. New versus old altcoins on Binance Futures. Newly listed altcoins are outperforming older ones. So if you look over the last 90 days, over the last 3 months, coins from 2025 are up 17.5%. Coins from 20 to 2024 are down 13 to 41%. New tokens show stronger speculative demand and faster early growth, while older listings stagnate in deeper drawdowns. Now, this is what we talk about when we talk about the fact that not all of your coins are going to go to all-time highs. Not all of your coins are going to pump exactly 500%. And this is kind of what we've been saying for a very, very long period of time. You need to be in the major alts. You need to be in the major coins from the likes of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Cardano, even all the way down to Chainlink. We do have ICP in one of our $15,000 portfolios. We do have Polygon also in our $15,000 portfolio, and they're our worst performing coins. But there are also the lowest allocation and the lowest cap coins out of our portfolio. And 2025 listings are just shiny new coins. Maybe they are preparing to go to all-time highs. Maybe they're preparing to go to price discovery. But I'm not showing you this to say you can't buy a coin from before this year. I'm showing you that a lot of projects from 2020, 2021, which probably are solid projects, just aren't going to do very well because they're not shiny coins. They're not shiny new projects like the Plasmas, like the Asters, like the Hype, like those kinds of coins. But it's interesting to see this, that people are chasing the next big thing. And again, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe a lot of 2025 coins are junk. They just haven't been discovered as junk, but people still want to, take a chance on them. So, that's where the profit thing comes in, where we talk about look at projects that make money. Plasma makes money. World Liberty Financials makes money. Aster makes money. Those projects make money. That's why we've picked those new ones, but we've got a tiny amount in. Now, XR peeps right now, peering through the window, watching as Litecoin, Solana and Hedera all get their day in the sunshine. And again, it will come and we will have them all. And we will have, as Oprah Winfrey says, all the ETFs, all the crypto ETFs you're ever going to want is going to be here. And then a word from our sponsor, which is Mew, of course, one of our sponsors of the channel. Cat equals good, dog equals bad. I have 3 dogs. Doesn't necessarily mean I have to agree with what they've put because they're a cat. The next Mew night is likely to be another probably 4 weeks from now. We've got the Halloween special coming up next. Then we've probably got Maple. Then we've got Wolf Swap. Then we've got Mew, I think, in that order. So we've got 4 big nights. But there is going to be a change to the order of them and the dates of them as we get towards the middle of November, because that is when I'll be having the operation. So there will be maybe a Tuesday night quiz, not a Wednesday night because I think my well, it's not an operation. My procedure is on a Wednesday, and I'm likely to be out of action for about 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be back by the following Monday. Bitcoin set for bullish takeoff after retesting 116,000, says Pomp. Again, people in the trenches out there. Now, who's in chat today? Who is in chat that remembers Pomp? Do we have anybody in chat that remembers them? We don't have many people in chat at all today. And you know what I think the problem is? I think Villain Bear's here, and I think Hidden is here. I didn't get any notification that this stream was going live. So I don't think other people have been given notifications that this stream has gone live today. But we are live on Binance Square, so maybe some people over there. Now, do you remember his show from about 3 years ago, at the end of the last bull run, where he wore baseball caps and T-shirts and he had some crypto bros in his room and he basically insulted a lot of people that came on his show? He would laugh at them, he would mock them. And then what he did was he went away, had a haircut, put a suit on, and started interviewing more sensible people. Now, people can change. Of course, we're all allowed to change. We're all allowed to grow. I'm not going to get airy-fairy hippie on you, but people are allowed to change, and I have no issue with people changing. But what I don't like is people changing entirely without recognizing the person they were and pretending to be whiter than white. We all know the kind of person that Pomp was. We all watched his shows 3 or 4 years ago. He'd get people on, they'd say things, he'd be sniggering in the background, he'd be having speculative conversations about things, and now he's in a suit and people think that he is God. And I remember the type of person he is, and this is a facade. And I'm not saying he's a bad person, I've never met the guy, but this is a facade. And he like I say, just because you wear a suit doesn't make you intelligent. That's another thing to bear in mind. One of the big misconceptions is that if you see somebody walk into a restaurant or something in a suit, you will be nicer to them than somebody walks in a T-shirt and a pair of shorts. The person who's in a T-shirt and a pair of shorts could be the multimillionaire that's already made his money and now wants to spend the rest of his life relaxing, whereas wearing a suit is just trying to impress somebody, and maybe you've got an interview to go and work at McDonald's, who knows. But anyway, co-founder and partner at Morgan Creek Digital, they've got billions coming in to set up a Bitcoin treasury. Let's see what he's got to say. Like I say, I'm not bashing the guy. I don't really know him. I just know him from his streams. It comes as the broader crypto market experiences a sudden shift in investor sentiment. He does believe the next Bitcoin price move will be positive. In a recent X post on Monday, following his post, Pomp declared that Bitcoin is cleared for takeoff, signaling renewed bullish momentum after it consolidated around 103. That was possibly a bottom. We spoke about this yesterday. It's gradually recovered from, of course, the massive liquidation event that we had nearly 3 weeks ago now, 2.5 weeks ago that was. Impressively, this recovery has confirmed a continuation of the trajectory upwards. Pomp has described the current recovery phase as the takeoff level for the leading crypto. He does remark that the correction from the 126,000 was October the 6th, which is what, 3 weeks ago? We were at 126,000. Then we came down to 103. Now we're back at 100 and what are we now? 114, 115,000. It's volatile. It's volatile. But I think it's very difficult to try and predict the direction of anything because it's all based on external factors. And I know Pomp is happy. I know Tom is happy. I know Michael Saylor is happy. I still think we are going to go somewhere in the region of $136,000 at some point very, very soon. It was my target for the end of October before we had the massive liquidation event. Now, If that goes into the first week of November, I don't care. But it's around this period of time. October has been Damptober. Okay? Now, could we have continued on our merry little way without that correction? Probably not. Probably needed that market correction to wipe out all the leverage. The markets are poised to move up. We're going to get a rate cut today or tomorrow. We're going to see Trump meeting Xi. We've talked about all of these different things. The sentiment can switch very, very quickly. We saw an announcement today. I mean, the French, being from the other side of the aisle, the French have never been great at doing things. They always go on strike. And, you know, there's a little bit of old rivalry there between the British and the French, put it that way. They've announced that they want to buy 2% of the entire supply of Bitcoin. And again, sometimes I think politicians reflect society. And when you have idiotic politicians, it reflects an idiotic society, or a society that doesn't or cannot maintain an intellectual parliament. And I think the French sum that up perfectly. You can't just turn around like Tim Nice but dim and saying you're going to buy 2% of the supply of Bitcoin when your entire country is on its backside. The same with Germany. Germany, as a manufacturing base, is finished. The French are in a similar situation. Yes, they make a lot of agriculture. Yes, they have a lot of exports, wine, champagne, and all that kind of stuff. But that can't sustain their economy. And I don't think going out and trying to get 2% of the total supply of Bitcoin is going to fix their problem. They have bigger problems to fix before Bitcoin. And I'm not saying they shouldn't go and get some Bitcoin. I'm saying they've got big problems. Now, again, putting a suit on doesn't make you intelligent. Being a member of parliament in your country doesn't make you intelligent. It just means you've convinced enough people to vote for you. And there's a couple of things which I think I wish people understood more about. Economics. Number one, economics. And number two, understanding the policies of the people that you vote for. They're the only two things. Now, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right is irrelevant. But if somebody prepares a list of policies, you should read them. Not just vote for them because they say snappy things. You need to understand what you're going to get when you elect that individual. And I think there's a lot of FAFO going around, especially when it comes to certain politicians. I'm not going to go off on this one. Let's move on. Solana breaks above $200 as the ETF speculation builds. Now, we're going to talk about Solana. We're going to talk about Litecoin in a minute. It eyes $222. Rumours of a forthcoming Solana-based ETF have sparked optimism that institutional capital could soon enter the SOL market, similar to Bitcoin's explosion following ETF approvals in early 2024. Now, for those of you that don't remember, in 2024, the Bitcoin ETF went live and the price dropped. Then when the Ethereum ETF went live, the price dropped. And we can thank Grayscale for that. Or we can thank buy the rumour, sell the news. However you want to look at it, the price did not rip after the ETF went live in either of those cases. There is a very good chance that Litecoin, Solana, and Hedera's ETFs caused the price of those three tokens to come to the downside. I have been saying since January, we need to get the Solana and XRP ETFs live long enough before the end of the bull run so this dip doesn't ruin those three tokens or two tokens. We are at that point. It's the 29th, 28th of October, and we're getting the ETFs go live. It's the time I said I didn't want them to go live. I wanted them live in June. And then a 3-month period, June, July, August, for them to cool off, for Grayscale to stop dumping the market. And then we are primed September, October, November for the rip to the upside. But no, we put them live on the 28th of October, the day before the rate cut decision, the 2 days maybe before the big trade deal announcement comes out, and maybe 4 weeks before the traditional all-time high, 4 or 5 weeks before traditional all-time high. It's terrible. It's like a comedian with bad timing, where it tells the punchline first. It's not great. Now, I'm hoping I'm wrong on these, and I'm hoping that it will actually pump the prices of these three tokens. But I've just seen Grayscale behind. It's like Grayscale is the bull in the China shop, and we've just unlocked the lock, taken the lock off, and the bull's standing there going, I'm not chained up anymore, and I want to get out that door. And the thing between me and the door is 56,000 China cups, and I'm just going to wreck the entire place on the way out. I don't know if this is going to be a sell the news event today, tomorrow, Friday. It could very well be. Maybe it's counteracted with the rate cut and positive trade news, maybe. Also, remember, I don't believe in buy the rumour, sell the news. I also don't believe in show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. I think the entire thing is just it's a cyclical event. I think it's a feedback loop. So I think that the news and the charts and the market and the macro, I think it's just all combined. But if you want to simplify it, in this particular instance, I think it could be a buy the rumour, sell the news. But 222 for Solana, it would be amazing. I think if we can hold 180, 175, I'd be really happy. And again, my issue is, has this come too late for the bull run? I said at the start of the year, $600 without the ETF and $1,000 with an ETF. What I didn't say is, what happens if the ETF goes live 4 weeks before the end of the bull run, 5 weeks before the end of the bull run? I never said that because I didn't for 1 minute think they were going to wait this long to put the ETFs live. So I think if we can hold 180, 175 for the next few days, fantastic. And listen, if we rip to the upside and I'm wrong, thank you, lucky stars, because Solana is one of the picks that we've had all along. But also, I wouldn't be trying to trade this. I wouldn't be going, right, well, Mike says we're going to go down. I'm not saying we're going to go down. I'm saying if we look at what happened to Ethereum, if we look at what happened to Bitcoin, they both dropped after the ETF went live. Both of them. And they both dropped. And you can point to many different factors. But the big one for me was Grayscale has a different fee price for its ETF than, say, BlackRock and Bitwise and everybody else. If Grayscale ETF goes live, and I haven't seen it, by the way, I haven't seen that that's the one that's going live. If it does go live and it's at 0.5% or 1%, people will sell that ETF and then go and buy others. And that might take 6 months. And it might ruin the bull run for Solana, for XRP, for Litecoin, and whichever other ones Grayscale decides to go with. But let's be positive, because it's Tuesday and it's almost Halloween and almost candy time. So for me, I think we just basically want to pray that Solana can hold $200. For me, that's what I would go with. Now, the more interesting one is Litecoin. And the reason is, I said in January that the next ETF to go live after Ethereum and Bitcoin will be Litecoin. That was my crystal ball prediction. I've made a lot of predictions at the start. I think I made 5 or 6 predictions in January. And I think, apart from the SBF one, Sam Bankman-Fried being released this year, and there is now talk of that happening, every single one of them, in my opinion, has come to pass. And I'm going to claim glory on this one. I'm going to claim glory. Canary files Litecoin and Hedera ETFs as the crypto products expand. Litecoin is going live today. I've won. I've won my own prediction bet. So they've submitted the 8A forms for Litecoin and Hedera amid the ETF market expansion. Bitwise and Grayscale are also advancing the Solana ETF efforts, signaling broader industry momentum. Litecoin and Hedera prices climb as investor interest grows ahead of potential ETF launches, which is today. There were tweets and tweets and tweets about it last night. People talking about James Seyfarth, Eric Balchunas, Eleanor Terrett, the usual people that I go to, the usual trusted sources. They're all going live today. There is a lot of aggressive sellers at 116k for Bitcoin. Yeah. Again, one of the things that we talked about for Bitcoin is I wanted to see us get back above the bull market support band. That's the most important thing for me. Bitcoin dominance is going to keep its merry march. Bitcoin dominance doesn't look like it's breaking down. It had its correction to the downside, and then it spent weeks now moving to the upside. So for me, Bitcoin is going to run first. always. And then, when it's finished eating, everything else will eat. But as far as this is concerned, Grayscale may join with a proposed Solana ETF conversion, increasing the number of crypto products. Now, that's the thing we need to worry about. Grayscale and their ETF conversion. Because Grayscale had an Ethereum trust and a Bitcoin trust, and they converted both of them to ETFs. Grayscale was one of the largest, if not the largest holder of Bitcoin outside of Satoshi in the market. And it basically sold. It let them all go. I don't know why they did that. It doesn't make any business sense to do that, but they did. Now, if they're not live, we could see a pump today. When they go live, I expect it to come down because they do depress the market. So again, why Litecoin? Well, the reasons for me behind them picking Litecoin is, number one, it's proof of work. And if we go back in time to before, we got rid of Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler was like, well, yes, you can have the Bitcoin one, and yes, you can have the Ethereum one, and the rest of it is the Wild West. Well, Litecoin is a simple fork of Bitcoin. It's the ghost of Bitcoin, and that might come in handy later on tomorrow. It's the ghost of Bitcoin. It's proof of work. Technically, although it's not got exactly the same tokenomics, the supply is bigger, it has a halving, it's mined, and it's an established asset. It's been around for 6-8 years? So Litecoin for me was the obvious choice for the next ETF. And I think this is one of the things that's going to be really bullish for Litecoin in the future, because Litecoin for me has done nothing for years. It's just a throwback. And if you go back and listen to what the inventor of Litecoin said, he said, I'd never bother making Litecoin if I had my time all over again. I'd have just gone and bought Bitcoin. So the founder of Litecoin, was it Tom Lee, said that he would never have invented the chain. I mean, imagine your father telling you that he doesn't love you. I mean, what's worse than that? So I think Litecoin is well positioned. Hedera, there is a very small, passionate community behind Hedera. There's some reasonably sized crypto influencers as well that talk about Hedera a lot, talk about the tokenomics. That was one of the coins which I think they want adoption for because of the use case of Hedera. Whenever we see people talking about XRP doing things, especially to do with stablecoins and stuff like that, and CBDCs and everything, Hedera is thrown into the equation. Algorand is another one that gets thrown into the equation as well. So there's a few coins that are from the old guard, which are probably going to do well. Litecoin being the biggest one for me. I think Litecoin, it's $100 now. I've already said it's not going to go to all-time highs this cycle because I think it's just not. I think all-time high is $400 for Litecoin. I can't see it going anywhere near that. $300 tops for me for Litecoin, I think. And if I'm wrong, it's my opinion. At the end of the day, that's all I give is my opinion. I just don't see every coin ripping to all-time highs in this cycle. It's just, I don't think there's enough money. There's not enough money coming in to do all of this stuff, in my opinion. But long-term, for Litecoin, I think being part of a fund of funds, of a fund of ETFs, being part of a mixed bag of ETFs, it's going to get that passive buying, which is going to inflate its price over time. I think that's a good thing. Now, IBM and Duvners unveiled digital asset management platform. Now, IBM, many of you won't remember, but IBM used to be the biggest company in the world. And now I think they're owned by the Japanese. I think they collapsed. Basically, they were mainframes. Internet, what was it? Well, it wasn't internet. Was it International Business Machines or something? It stands for. And they were absolutely huge in the 90s. Probably one of the biggest companies in the world. And like a lot of companies from that time, they didn't move with the times. Technology changed. They didn't. And I think they got bought out by the Japanese. They are going to launch a digital assets haven, a platform for digital asset management launching in Q4 2025, offering solutions for financial institutions, governments, and enterprises globally. The platform aims to enhance crypto adoption by integrating digital assets with traditional banking systems with a focus on compliance, scalability, and security. They announced the launch of Digital Asset Haven DAR. You need a better name, don't you? You need a better name than that. Now, let me get some details. For digital assets, To be integrated into core banking and capital market systems, the underlying infrastructure must meet the same standards as traditional financial rails. Together with IBM, we've built a platform that goes beyond custody to orchestrate the full digital asset ecosystem, paving the way for digital assets to move from pilot programs to production at a global scale, says Clarice. I've not heard that name since that film. Now, what I would say about this is I've never heard of Divners, don't know who they are, and I've heard of IBM from like 30 years ago. So I don't know whether this is going to be like an 80s band trying to come back. You know, they're a bit older. They can't have the long hair anymore because they're going bald. They've got really big black eyes. The voice on the lead singer has gone. The drummer's only got one arm now. You know, they're just getting back on the road to make a few bits of cash. It could be like that. And it could fall flat on its face. And it could be a failed project. I don't know enough about it from this. But for them to do this and not mention any names of partners, such as XRP, such as, is it Quant? Where are the partnerships? Who are they building this with? Are they building it from scratch? So I wouldn't hold out much hope for this so far. That's one angle. The other angle is IBM has decades and decades of experience in building this stuff and building it well. And if they've still got all of that knowledge in their company, then they will be an asset. And if they're going to partner, and again, maybe they are, if they're going to partner with all the different banking systems and partnering with all the blockchains like Chainlink as well, if they're going to partner with all of them, this could be a rip-roaring success because they've got their little telephone book of companies to get into. And if you are a company in America and you get a phone call, who's this? It's Zirkle Snarklefart blockchain. We'd like to put your banking system on our blockchain. You're going to put the phone, or you're going to drop the phone. You're not going to put the phone on, you're going to drop it. You get a phone call from IBM. Hi, Dave. Steve here. Oh, how you doing, Dave? Yeah, Steve, sorry. It's great. How are you? Yeah, listen, we've got this, you know, this crypto thing. We've got a system that will just plug straight into you and it'll just work from day one. How about it? Brilliant. Brilliant, Steve. Yeah, send it over. So either this is going to bring IBM back into the future and they're going to become a big player again, or it's going to be a damp squid. I don't know because it's too early on to say. But if this goes live and it's adopted, they could be, you know, IBM could be back on the menu. So keep an eye on that one. And I like to try and include as much of this stuff as possible because it's really hard to get through the noise of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. It's really hard to get through the noise and actually find you guys real hard information outside of the main cryptos. It's really hard. So when I find stuff like that, I like to talk about it because it's different. And that's what I want to try and do, is bring you something different. Next Monday, I think it will tell us if it stabilizes or goes up. Well, next Monday is what, the 3rd of November, is it? Yeah, next Monday is the 3rd of November. I think, yeah, we've got a culmination of events at the end of this week that's going to tell us what's going to happen with Bitcoin. And either 126 is the top, and that's it, this cycle, or we go on, and we don't know yet. Phil and Bear says the action by Monday will be too late. We're going to see what happens on Thursday. Maybe. Who knows? Right, let's move on very quickly. We have 15 minutes to go, and we've got 3 articles to talk about. Absolutely perfect. Now, we're not going to go into all of these things. I just, like I say, cover them, make sure you know what's going on, move on. Now, this is actually one of those things that never happens until it happens. A little bit like the liquidation event. I used to listen to a streamer about 4 or 5 years ago, and I stopped listening to him because he just started arguing with his community. And I'm not going to say his name. I liked the way he broke things down. The numbers that he broke down, however, were completely fictitious. And it's a case of, you know, if I sat here and said to you, listen, there's 21 million Bitcoin. If every single person in the world tomorrow bought $1,000 of Bitcoin, Bitcoin would go to $11 million of Bitcoin. You know, it's those kind of numbers where he opens a spreadsheet, puts the numbers in, and just gives you utter nonsense. But when he was talking about puts and calls and Tesla and he would always say on his stream, put a cheeky order on your favorite tokens. And what he was saying was, if Bitcoin is at 120,000 today, put a buy order at 80,000, put a buy order at 60,000 or 70,000. Ethereum, put a buy order at 3,100 and 2,000. Liquidation event, you will get those price filled. Now, if you go and look at any of those tokens, if you look at Syrup, if you go and look at Atom, if you go and look at any of those tokens, during that liquidation event, and of course they don't happen every day, you put $100 or $1,000 or something like that on a token. So let's say we pick Syrup. Syrup's, I think, about 40 cents. You put a cheeky buy order at 10 cents and you just leave it and you forget about it and you just keep it there on for a Black Swan event. And maybe you put a sell order on Ethereum at $4,995, for example. Well, that is what happens on decentralized exchanges. Now, of course, I wouldn't recommend putting those bid orders on a DEX and forgetting about them. There's no way of getting notified. I would do it on Binance or one of the big exchanges. I would certainly do that. And these coins either. I think Bitcoin went to $120,000 on Binance US. And again, it takes one wick into your sell order and you've made a massive profit. And again, I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying this guy would talk about it and put crazy orders above and below the price of the coins. And sometimes those wicks, those cascading liquidations can take you to those prices. So it briefly topped $98 on Lighter due to a bot error, not whale activity. Lighter removed the distorted price data from its front end to improve user experience, while on-chain data remained accessible. The incident highlights challenges for decentralized exchanges in balancing transparency. We've already talked about that. We don't need to talk about this anymore. It was just an interesting little thing that I think is important for you to just remember. If you've got $150 sitting there in Binance and you don't want to invest in a coin, go and put a buy order on Bitcoin at $80,000 and just leave it there until you need it again. Same thing with Ethereum. Go and put a buy order at $2,800. I mean, it's very unlikely that you're going to forget about it for the next 12 months until we go through the bear market and suddenly you're catching a falling knife. I mean, do it for the next 3 months. Put a buy order on. Or a sell order in the case of Bitcoin. Put a sell order on Bitcoin at $200,000, $199,950 or something like that. Because maybe it will come true. In fact, I did do this. I'm lying to you. I did do this on an exchange. I put buy orders on Bitcoin at 20, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, and $8,000. I did do it for a period of time, and we only got into 2 or 3 of those orders. We never went down all the way in that, but I did do that. But that was kind of more of a, we expect the price to go down to roughly this level. That's why I did it. It wasn't quite flash crash territory. Now, crypto treasury firms stare down leverage crisis as NAV discounts force risky moves. Oh, when you can see the bus coming and you can see the pigeon on the road and the pigeon is eating a half-eaten burger and the bus is coming and the bus doesn't see the pigeon, and you know what's going to happen to that pigeon because the pigeon's going to see the bus too late and then there's no more pigeon because the bus is where the pigeon was. These treasuries are a risk to the coins that they are in, and because of contagion, possibly a risk to the market. And if we're talking about black swans in the future, China and Taiwan is a black swan. However we want to dress that up, it's a black swan. However we want to dress up treasury firms that are not in Bitcoin, however we dress them up, they are a black swan. And it might not be the thing that ends crypto. It might not be the thing that finishes these coins off. But this could be the narrative of 2026, 2027. It can be. Doesn't mean it's all going to come to pass, but it can happen. So ETHZilla sold $40 million in Ethereum for stock buybacks and amid a 30% NAV discount, while Japan's Metaplanet trades below its Bitcoin reserve value. So what this means is ETHZilla has $100 million worth of Ethereum, and the company is trading at $70 million, or whatever the difference is, something like that. Metaplanet also trades below its NAV. So net asset value or nominal asset value, net asset value? It's the value of the assets within the company. And then you basically divide that by the number of shares and you get a share price. And that share price might be $100. Okay? For the stock, if the company gets liquidated tomorrow, you will get a 30, 40, 50% premium. However, you can also find premiums. So for a long time, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust was trading at a premium. So for every $100 or $1,000 worth of Bitcoin that the trust held, you were paying $110 or $120 for it. The Solana Grayscale Trust was even worse. Way back when Solana was $150, the Solana Trust with Grayscale was trading at $200, $225. So you can get a discount and you can get a premium. And there are ways of tracking it out there. Now, in the case of ETHZilla, is selling $40 million in Ethereum to buy their stock back at a 30% NAV, is that a good idea? Absolutely it is. That's the right thing to do because you're trading off the value of your company against the value of Ethereum. Capriol's Charles Edwards warns treasury firms have only 3 risky options: sell their assets, get acquired, or increase leverage to boost yields. I don't like any of them. Corporate Bitcoin purchasing has scaled since October, leaving markets vulnerable as treasury companies either liquidate holdings or pursue dangerous leverage strategies. It's a ticking time bomb. Now, we covered on Saturday, we did the Maple Finance crash report where we talked about this. And in that our session that we did on Binance Square, we talked about how the clients of Maple dealt with that liquidation event. And what did they do? They all went to Bitcoin. So some people were using Ethereum as collateral, XRP as collateral, probably even Hype as collateral. And when those flash crashes happened, it brought the collateral down on all of those loans that they had with Maple, and they potentially could have been liquidated. And then when they saw what happened with Bitcoin and then compared that to the rest of the market, they decided, you know what? Why on earth are we holding Ethereum? Why are we holding XRP? Why are we holding Solana? We should be holding Bitcoin. And I'm like, you clearly don't watch this show. You clearly don't listen to me. If you want a treasury or if you invest in companies that have crypto assets as part of their treasury, in my opinion, you should only pick treasuries which have Bitcoin. That is it. No others. You are seeing SUI treasuries. What on earth are you doing? It makes no sense. Now, Tom Lee, with his Ethereum treasury, Bitmain or what it's called, Bitmine, good for them. Absolutely happy. But I'm only ever going to back a company that buys Bitcoin. Ever. That's it. And maybe in 10 years' time, if Ethereum has a $5 trillion market cap, maybe if Solana has a $1 trillion market cap, then maybe, just maybe, when we come out of this boom and bust phase and we go into expansion and, Solana and Ethereum are all making healthy profits and they've become a proper ecosystem and everything else, then maybe. But at this very moment in time, if anyone you know who owns a company that's going to start buying the likes of Cardano or Hype or Ton, I think there's a Ton treasury as well. If they're going to start doing that, what are you doing? You buy Bitcoin. That should be the end of the conversation. We are going to set up a treasury, a crypto treasury. Fantastic. How much Bitcoin is it going to hold? Should be the question. And if they say, we are not going to hold Bitcoin, you walk out the door, or you put the phone down, or you delete the email. Because this is a recipe for disaster. If we go through a brutal bear market in the next cycle, this is going to hit the wall. Absolutely hit the wall. And leading on from this, the last thing I want to talk about is why you should not put all of your eggs in one basket. And I don't care what Michael Saylor tells you. I don't care what Michael Saylor says. It's Bitcoin or it's nothing. I don't care about that. That's his job, right? That's not my job. My job is to stop you from becoming poor. Our motto is we are not here to make you rich. It's to stop you from becoming poor, because we don't give financial advice. We give warnings. We try and give warnings. We try and help people. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say, if you buy this asset, it's going to do a 15x and you're going to be rich. No, I'm going to say, whatever you do, don't put all of your money into that project, because if that project goes south, you've lost everything. Now, this retail investor, he lost his life savings after going all in on BYND stock. That's Beyond Meat, I believe. Is it Beyond Meat? I think it is. Yeah, Beyond Meat. Now, I remember this, and I know this because there was a couple of stocks that I was monitoring. I didn't buy either of them. One was Beyond Meat, and one was Peloton. Now, the reason that Beyond Meat Burger blew up, very simply put, I think Burger King or McDonald's signed a deal to sell the Beyond Meat burgers. I think it was actually Burger King. And the share price absolutely skyrocketed. We had COVID, lockdown, Peloton's share price absolutely rocketed. What did neither of those companies have to keep that share price? They didn't have a distinct competitive edge. You can get a plastic bowl and put all of the ingredients of a Beyond Meat burger in a bowl, and you can pretty much make a Beyond Meat burger at home. And there are thousands and thousands of TikTok videos and YouTube videos out there explaining how this all happens. Okay? So there is absolutely no way other than convenience that Beyond Meat burger is ever going to hold its competitive advantage. Peloton, what is it? It's a bike that connects to a phone or an iPad, which then has live or recorded training sessions. And they've done a mirror as well and stuff like that, okay? So you need a membership system, a man on a video sitting on a bike shouting at you, and a real-time chat. That's all Peloton is. So it's got no competitive edge because people want bikes. And their bikes are twice as expensive as everybody else's. So much as I loved this new wave of companies, Beyond Meat Burger, I thought, brilliant, what a fantastic concept. Then I looked at how easy it was to make. Terrible idea. Now, what this man has done is put his life savings into a company that you can make in a plastic bowl. That's crazy. When Michael Saylor tells you to buy Bitcoin and buy nothing but Bitcoin, he means your entire net worth should be in Bitcoin. And to some degree, I understand where he's coming from, because yes, if somebody held a water pistol to my head and said, you've got to put your entire net worth into a crypto asset, what would it be? It would be Bitcoin. I give him that. Totally, hand on heart, yes. Do I think your entire net worth should be in Bitcoin? Absolutely not. I disagree with people who tell you that you shouldn't pay off your mortgage. Wholeheartedly disagree with them on that. I disagree with people who say you shouldn't have gold. I disagree with people who say you shouldn't have stocks and shares. You should have a diversified portfolio. And this man, and I'm really sorry to say this man is an idiot. I have no sympathy for anybody who does this. Zero. I don't care if you work for a company and that company is the best company that's ever existed. You still shouldn't have your 100% of your net worth in that company. It's irresponsible to you and your family. And that is the same thing for crypto. If you're worth $100,000, for argument's sake, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, by all means, you should have in crypto. And in that, you should have the majority of that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in Bitcoin. Probably half, 2/3. But then you are allowed to go and buy Solana or Ethereum if you so choose to, or other coins that you like, fine. the rest of your money, it should be in your house. It should be in maybe stocks and shares and gold, okay? It should be diversified, because this cult attitude of you can only buy Bitcoin, you can only buy Ethereum, you can only buy Solana, that doesn't exist in the real world. If I want to buy oil's at, let's say oil's at $30 a barrel, and there's going to be conflict, and I think it's going to go to $80 to $100 a barrel, I will go and buy the Guinness Energy Fund, which is all the oil companies in the world. I will go and buy that. And if I tell my mates, I've just gone and bought, the Guinness Energy Fund, my mates are not going to turn around and say, I cannot believe you haven't just bought BP. BP's the future. It's BP or no B. Nobody would say that. But in crypto, if you tell Solana maxes that you've got Ethereum, they'll mock you. If you tell Solana maxes you've bought Cardano, they'll mock you. This tribalism is not connected to the real world. And putting all of your money into anything is utter stupidity. I don't even care about what this has to say about the article, because it's not about the article. It's about you and making sure that you don't stay poor. That's the entire point of this. Crypto has always been a casino. That's why you don't put in what you can't afford to lose. 100%. 70% Bitcoin, 20% ETH, 10% alts would be a decent portfolio. Absolutely. I don't know. SNKAI. I recognize the name. That is absolutely spot on. In fact, while we're here, I'm going to very briefly tell you what my portfolio breakdown is on my personal portfolio, just to give you an idea. And I'm not going to put it on the screen because it's probably going to give you the numbers, and I don't want to give you the numbers. Right. So my portfolio is... Where is the little picture that tells me? There we go. In a second. Right. I am 57% Bitcoin, 15% Ethereum. So I am 71% in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I also have 5 to 10% in cash for whatever reason. And then I've got Sol at 6% and ADA and XRP at 2 or 3%. That's my portfolio. So I have got 72% of my portfolio. Yeah, 72% of my portfolio is Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I've also held my Ethereum since it was $70. And that's gone up a lot more than I think Bitcoin has gone up. So I totally agree with that. I think 70% in Bitcoin, 60% in Bitcoin, 20%, 15% in Ethereum, and then the rest in alts. I absolutely, totally agree with that. I think that's an absolutely sage bit of advice. Ah, you're the GOAT. Okay, you remove GOAT. Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a very solid portfolio. Absolutely. In fact, we did another portfolio that I'll do on Friday's stream. I'll bring it up. So we've done a $15,000 to $1 million portfolio, where we're going to turn $15,000 into $1 million in 3 cycles, not one. This is not that kind of channel. And the goal for this cycle is to get somewhere near $100,000. That's the goal. So $15,000 to $100,000. And I think the portfolio right now is at about $57,000, $58,000. I think it topped at 60 so far. If we have one more push, it's up towards $100,000. That's it. That's the goal for that portfolio. That's a 7x to get us to $100,000. The next cycle is to get us from $100,000 to maybe $400,000. That will be a 4x. And then the cycle after that is a 2.5x. So that's the plan. $15,000 to $1 million in 10 years, roughly. 8 to 10 years, whatever it works out as. That is the plan. That is the plan. Now then. Yeah, I mined Ethereum. That's a different story. I've got a long story to tell you about how I mined Ethereum that involves Russia, that involves kidnapping, that involves a car chase, that involves escaping in the middle of the night, this isn't me, this is the people who are doing the mining. There's a lot behind that, but I don't think it's the kind of thing I can put on YouTube, or certainly can't talk about it on Binance. But that's an interesting story. Anyway, I need to go because it's 12:06, and I've got to export the Oracle video, which he did, the interview he did. He's done an interview with Wham, Danny from Wham, which is an AI gaming platform. So that's going to go out hopefully today, whenever it exports. And then next week, he's going to hopefully be interviewing Compute 3 AI, which is Nidos. I can't pronounce his name at the minute because I can't get it in front of me, but that's going to be next week as well. So we've got lots and lots and lots of interviews for In the Trenches built up. But anyway, now then, before we go, Villain Bear and everybody else that's watching, because I don't know why our stream didn't get sent out. There was no notification on today's stream. So we've got very few people watching today, which is really upset. I'm going to give you an answer to a quiz question because that is what we do. When you watch the day before the quiz, I give you one question and one answer. Now, I'm going to give you this one. What was the name of a horror film crypto project? What was the name of a horror film crypto project? Was it Shudder? Was it Shivers? Or was it Creep? That's going to be one of the questions tomorrow night. Now, by all means, have a guess in chat. I can hang on for a minute or two. Is the name of the horror crypto project Shudder, Shivers, or Creep? Now, what this did was, I don't think it exists anymore. I think it's gone bust. But what you did was you held this token, and this token gave you access to their horror film catalogue, and you could watch films in exchange for this token. I think that's a great idea, but I think it was maybe made too soon. So what was the name of it? Was it Shudder, Shivers, or Creep? Villain Bear thinks it's one. It's never always one. Right, so you've gone for one, Villain Bear. I'm going to give you the answer, and then we can go. It's not Shudder, because Shudder is the name of the actual streaming platform that you can get access to through Amazon Prime. It's not Creep, because that is the name of a very big X account. It's called Shivers. So tomorrow night, question number 10. Oh, yeah, question number 10 will be Shivers. And I told you, I tell everybody, if you don't listen to these live streams, you miss out on the alpha. And the alpha today is, of course, answers to the questions tomorrow night. So now you know. Now you know. Okay? And if you want to follow, if you want to go to X and look up, I think it's called Creepy or Creep, whichever one it is. It shows you really weird things that have happened in the world, like people disappearing, people, you know, about serial killers and stuff like that. It's quite a good channel to follow. But anyway, I'm going to go. For the notification. Well, it's going to be... It's actually listed on YouTube, but I haven't listed it yet on Binance. I'm probably going to go and set it up now. I'm going to list it on Binance, and then you'll get notifications. But it will be there. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming. I've overstayed my welcome by 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So thank you, everybody. And I will see you all tomorrow night. I don't know what I'm going to be wearing. This is the thumbnail that we've used for the last 2 years, I think. So this is the 3rd year we've used this thumbnail, which is great because it's less work for me. Anyway, take care.